Good evening, ladies. Can everybody hear me? Give me a little nod if you guys can hear me.
Yes,
Awesome.
hello.
Yay, I'm so excited. I love these Zoom calls. I think you guys are going to find that we get more stuff done here than the training videos and the text post. And while all of that is super valuable, especially for you guys to be able to kind of refer to throughout this masterclass, I think that in here is where we're really going to get our hands dirty. We're all going to be able to talk about what we're seeing and feeling. You guys are going to learn from each other, and you're going to help me kind of bring up where things are still unclear, where we can have more conversation areas. You guys will, these conversations are what will direct the rest of the course, because we'll figure out where the gaps are, what we need to fill, what questions are still being answered, and where we need to spend more time. So I'm super excited to spend Friday nights with you ladies. Before we get started, I'm just going to take a few deep breaths because it's been a crazy week. And if you guys are anything like most people who are just kind of getting started with consciously curly strategies, you're maybe a little bit frustrated with your hair. Maybe a little frustrated that you don't understand what you're seeing and feeling. It's not coming as second nature as I tend to make it sound. What I want you guys to know is that I was stepping into my conscience with my hair before I even knew that's what I was doing. So I've been working on this consciously for a decade, unconsciously for like an extra 5 to 7 years. This will come second nature to you as you become more experienced and you start to become more patient. Patience is going to be everything on this journey. And even a decade into being super conscious with your curls, they will still throw you for a loop sometimes, I promise. So this is a journey that never ends, but I can promise you're not going to have to spend hours and hours on your hair all the time moving forward. It's just like when you're learning anything new, you got to kind of put in the work in the beginning. You feel me? So let's just take a deep breath and release the chaos of this week in through your nose. And whatever you have to do, whatever feels good, to just unclench your jaw and release that tension in your shoulders and allow yourself to just arrive. We don't have to worry about what the heck is going on, 2020, 2021 vibes, right? We're just here. We're all taking a little bit of time to invest in ourselves and learn something new about ourselves and invite kind of curiosity and play and something new into our lives and our daily routines. And it's up to us to let that feel good. It doesn't have to be frustrating. This doesn't have to be difficult. This doesn't have to be a struggle. This can be fun, and this can, you know, incite your curiosity and help you relax and plug in and tune into you. This can be self-care if that's what you choose it to be. So just take one more deep breath. And let it go. All right, let's do this thing. If you guys brought your little copy of the hand feel chart, or if you guys can pull it up on your computers or on your cell phones, it might be super helpful for you, because I think we'll be able to kind of make a lot of connections between what's on this piece of paper and what it means to you and your hair. This is truly a course on hand feel. So while we do tend to, from time to time, we'll be discussing things like cleansing and clarifying and conditioning, but really this is about what do you do after you've washed, or maybe it's not a wash day, after you've conditioned, and based on what you're feeling, what styling products can you use to support whatever the heck you're feeling, and highlight what's good about what's happening to your hair today and support what's maybe needing a little bit of extra support with products based on what you're feeling today. And keep in mind, we talked about this a lot in the training video, right? That porosity is dynamic, not just by the location on your hair or the length of your hair, but also by the day of the week, right? So when you cleanse, you're cleansing everything out of your hair, you're creating more space. That is your highest porosity. And as you move through the week and you're adding more product, you're exposing your hair to more elements, to more water, to more air pollution, to more smoke in the air, like whatever it is, hard water, whatever is building up on your hair over time, including your scalp's natural oils, dead skin cells, microbiome, which are everywhere on every surface and healthy for us. All build up on the hair over time. So we're removing that on wash day. So I'm going to encourage you guys a lot. We're going to have a lot of conversations about this, to notice if you aren't sure what you're feeling, notice and really start paying attention to the difference between what your hair feels like directly after you cleanse and what it feels like after 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, or right before you cleanse. Right? Even if you are cleansing every day because that's what feels good to you, you can still notice the difference between what it feels like after you cleanse and what it feels like before you cleanse. And that's going to be for you the difference between your hair being lower porosity and higher porosity. And we're going to be talking about that a lot. So let's get into it. Do any of you have questions for me? Homework that you want to go through? Anything like that? Just take your mic off and fire them at me. What do you guys got? Nobody's gonna take their mic off. We can go through, Jackie made a really wonderful post about her homework. So there's 4 points that I think will be super helpful for everybody. So Jackie, do you mind if I just go through that now? Cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. Okay. So point number 1, you said, I think my hair acts lower porosity, but it's actually higher porosity. So what you're saying just right there in that first sentence is you think that you have some damage to your hair, either from, it doesn't look like you're coloring your hair, are you? Oh, I think she might be frozen. Am I frozen? Okay. Okay. Let's just keep moving through this because it's recorded, so she can always watch this later. So generally speaking, if somebody's saying they think that their hair is acting low porosity, but it's actually higher porosity, generally what's happened is a long-term buildup situation, normally product induced, but it could be induced by any other factor, including hard water, environmental factors, and your cleanser maybe just wasn't removing those types of buildup, right? And when your hair has super severe buildup, water can't break through that barrier at all. So your hair is chronically dehydrated, encapsulated in essentially like saran wrap, you can think of it as, or being dipped like an ice cream cone is kind of dipped like that cherry dip, and how it makes that waxy coating. That's essentially what a long-term buildup situation would look like. And so you have chronically dehydrated hair encapsulated in this kind of petrochemical layer or environmental layer. If it's hard water induced, then it's heavy metals, right, which are super heavy and can tend to even like change the color of your hair. And so you have a super tricky situation where you need to cleanse pretty regularly, and especially while you're working through this buildup, right? And rotating your cleansers so that you are moving buildup layer by layer, because you're not really sure what caused the buildup to begin with or what the layers were. You could have a product that builds up that's highly reactive with hard water. So then the hard water more easily bonds to the product that's bonded to the hair and get kind of build up in these crazy layers where you would need to chelate maybe with ascorbic acid or Malibu C hard water wellness, and then a clarifier of some kind to kind of break through. This is why I'm a big advocate for cleanser rotation, because it kind of covers all your bases in terms of buildup. I always like to have more than one cleanser within arm's reach, right? So then she says, I think my hair is higher porosity at the ends and around my hairlines, which is super interesting. It tends to be really frizzy and dry very quickly in these 2 locations. So first things first is I will almost guarantee that your hair is not high porosity at the roots. It's actually low porosity at the roots. It's brand new hair growth. It's probably lower porosity because it's the healthiest that your hair is ever going to be. And what tends to happen when your hair is low porosity is buildup happens more quickly, because with a higher porosity hair, the buildup, just like water, can get inside easier, but it also falls out easier. With a lower porosity hair type, because the cuticle is tighter, right? In your lower porosity hair type, your cuticle is tighter. So buildup, be it from hard water or product or whatever, isn't really getting inside the hair shaft. It's sitting on top of the hair shaft. And so you're getting more buildup at the roots. So this is going to change your strategy a little bit for how you deal with the frizz and flash drying that you're seeing at your roots versus the flash drying that you're seeing at your ends, which are most likely because of damage, although they could also be because of buildup. It's more likely because that buildup has caused such chronic dehydration that your hair is unable to hold water at all. So even if you got water inside the hair shaft, it falls out right away. And that might be something that we can help to fix or temporarily support with lots of conditioner, lots of fillers at your ends specifically. But honestly, at some point, cutting it off is going to allow your hair to be healthy from root to ends, or healthier from root to ends. And I mean, you can see some of the transformation in our Facebook group as to how beneficial a good chop can be, especially your first good chop after kind of starting to understand your hair, because you're now focused on the long-term strategy of like preserving your hair health and avoiding damage as much as what's reasonable and what feels good. And even a little bit of damage control can do wonders to the overall health of your hair. It seems almost like my hair at my roots and at my ends can't hold hydration at all, but when they're wet, it has wet frizz and other characteristics and it can't get hydrated. So this is exactly a sign of buildup. The more I read this, the more confident I am that you have buildup, because of what I was saying before. If your hair has buildup, it looks low porosity because it's chronically dehydrated, but encapsulated in buildup. And so you can't get water inside, so the damage just keeps happening. Your hair just is as dry as it can be. And what happens when hair is really dry is that, again, it's kind of brittle, right? Remember when I was squeezing this pine cone and all of the eaves and they were just crumbling, right? That's pretty much what's happening to your hair, is as it's rubbing against the other hair strands or going up into a ponytail and then down and then being toweled and whatever, the cuticles that are kind of lifted and brittle are kind of rubbing against each other, and they're just causing more damage and making the situation worse. So being focused on that buildup removal is really important. We have a course called Detox Your Locks. It's actually a pretty small series. It's not like a 6-week thing or anything, where I show you, I kind of go through conscious cleansing and how to approach buildup removal, and then give you, like, I show you how to do an ascorbic acid detox. I show you how to do a bentonite clay detox. I show you how to use Malibu and Dugu. I have videos where I kind of combine some of those treatments together so that you can see me detox hair types of all kinds, waves, curls, coilies. I have like 3 or 4 videos in that sequence. So that is super helpful if you're unsure. But honestly, the best advice I can give you is to pick up like an ascorbic acid and a Malibu Cian Dugu, which actually I have stopped using and replaced with the Intersense Scalp Scrub, just because it's cleaner, and so far for me, it's doing the trick. And just rotating them with your normal cleanser. So the easiest way to kind of break through a long-term buildup situation is, like, I would have a primary cleanser that you're using once a week, and then maybe once a week or every other week. So like right now, I probably do an Intersen scalp scrub. I mean, it's new. It's kind of like the new shiny object in my shower. So I'm using it probably a little bit more than I should. Plus, I've been going in the hot tub a lot more, like at least every week. And every second time I get in the hot tub, I'm in with my niece and she's just a splashing mermaid. So like, but this is a great test. So for example, I know that going into the hot tub builds up on my hair. So for me, if I ever want to do a live demonstration, and maybe I'll do this for you guys, although I have tons of videos already made that I could tag you in or that you could see, where I intentionally go in the hot tub or the pool and get that kind of buildup on my hair, and then show you, like, and you guys can do this too if you have a source like this where you can intentionally create buildup. Well, now you can experiment with what does buildup feel like when it's on my hair. If you aren't sure if you have buildup on your hair, put your hair in a situation where you know it should have buildup. And if it doesn't feel different, then you probably already had buildup. For me, my hair feels different when I go in that hot tub. Like instantly, the next time I get my hair wet, it feels different. And for me, what it feels like is sticky or tacky, or like when I run my fingers through it, like I'm running my fingers through a whole bunch of strands of rubber bands, or licorice, like smooth licorice, not like the Twizzler licorice that has, like, you know what I mean? That kind of like, it's not sticky like honey, but it's tacky. It's got a little bit of like, it's not smooth. Once I get hydration in there, normally my hair feels kind of smooth. Sometimes it feels a little bit coarse, like the cuticle is a little bit lifted, a little bit like sandpaper, but that's different. That's dehydration. Okay, buildup feels a little different. Sometimes I'll think that my hair, like after I get in the hot tub and I know there's buildup on it, I'll rake my hair out in the shower just at the saturation step, right, without any products. And I'll feel my hair actually feeling very soft and smooth and like normal, but it's like from 1 inch down from my roots to the end. If I really get my fingers in at my roots when I'm upside down, that's where I feel the stickiness and the tackiness, because that is the lowest porosity hair. So when I only have a very little bit of buildup, it shows up on my lowest porosity hair first because it sits outside that hair. Whereas the higher porosity, it kind of gets in there, but then it just falls out. Does that make sense? So put your hair in a situation where you're intentionally creating buildup and then see what buildup feels like. Put your hair in a situation where you're intentionally removing all that buildup. Do a clarifier, do a chelator, do your normal cleanser. Take note of what your hair feels like directly after. That's going to be the highest porosity hair. Then jump in the swimming pool, or don't wash your hair for 7 days, 9 days. I did the wash day cycle series, which I kind of told you about. I think I said I would. Let me write that down because I'll send you guys that link. Because in that wash day series, I think I went to like day 11 or day 14 hair, which I really don't do that often, but I did it for the sake of the demo. And you guys can do it for the sake of starting to understand, like, what would your hair feel like if it has a lot of buildup? Don't wash it. Right? Like, because products build up, your natural sebum builds up, the environment builds up, all of it builds up. So if you want to know what it feels like, force it, right? She says the crown and the back of my hair seem to be more low porosity. This is another situation that, like, I hesitate to use the word normal, but it really is. Here's why. First of all, this is the hair that is probably, like, if your scalp was in a situation where it was irritated or over oiling for basically any of the reasons that it would start being like that, that's where it would happen. So for example, if you were using sulfate cleansers or more harsh detergents and cleansers and products, you're probably putting them on upright, and pretty much we only washed the crown of our hair for Lord knows how long. Like, if you weren't doing it upside down, the chances that you've been fully and comprehensively cleaning your entire scalp is pretty, I would say like under 30%. And that's like just me to making up a number, but honestly, it's very hard when you're upright and your hair is parted at the whirl like that to distribute anything beyond like the circle that is your whirl. It just really, product doesn't distribute around your scalp more than that in an upright position. So that's normal. You were concentrating the sulfates there, so your hair is maybe over oiling there, right? It's maybe getting a little bit heavier or greasier there. This could be where your scalp maybe if you've been off of those types of products for a while, where your scalp is still just recovering and trying to find its new balance again, right? Also, the shower head would be hitting you right there with hot water, high pressure, like all the things. Also, when water hits your hair at high pressure, you're getting, especially if you have harder water, kind of those dissolved solids and heavy metals kind of with momentum into the hair there. So it could be be more so. And same reason if you're applying, a conventional conditioner in an upright position, more buildup there as well. So makes sense. And the base of your neck is kind of the same deal. You haven't been, it's kind of opposite. You haven't been cleansing it as well. A lot of oil and buildup kind of gets there and isn't usually cleansed as well, especially in an upright position. So that's also another place where I see a lot of like low porosity / buildup situations. Although I could be way off base, but I don't think you are. My hair tangles very easily. She's talking still about this kind of crown area. And if it's detangled upside down and I flip it back, it tangles quickly. Even pulling it back, it tangles a lot. It sounds to me like you definitely have a buildup situation. Jackie, do you mind taking your mic off and letting me know like what cleansers are you using? Have you done a cleansing treatment or a clarifier or a chelator or anything like that? I think I can send you a request. Oh, she hopped off. Okay, let's keep going through her questions. Does anybody else have questions before we go to her next point? Oh, she's back. Hello, Jackie.
Hi, sorry. Hi. It keeps like, I don't know if it's.
Oh, man. Jackie, you keep freezing. So what I'll do is post this replay in the group, and then you can just ask any questions that you have underneath. Yep, is it going to work?
Yeah, I think so. Because this is my first time using Zoom, so I don't know if it's my internet or what, but it just keeps like the whole thing will just, yeah, it just keeps going. It just keeps going, shutting off completely, and then popping right back up. So I don't know what it's doing.
So tell me, have you done a cleansing treatment or a clarifier or anything like that?
Well, on my first post, I think you told me about the ascorbic acid. And so
I love it.
I tried mixing that with my cleanser this morning, and I could definitely tell a difference.
Okay, good.
And how my hair
felt. It might take a few times, but I love it because it's more gentle than the Malibu Ciandugu or the Hard Water Wellness. So I don't like reach for it when you need it because it's nice and gentle. You know what I mean? The other thing that you should do, okay, a couple of tricks with the ascorbic acid. One, try mixing it with your conditioner in a pre-poo kind of situation because ascorbic acid is acidic, and I don't fully understand the science of how ascorbic acid works. I think it's partially because it's an abrasive, but it must chemically bond to things that are normally building up in your hair because all I know is that it works and hundreds of people have tried it and agreed. I've tried to, there's really no, I can find blog posts and stylists who do this strategy and like these types of things, but in terms of like scientific journals, there is none about like using ascorbic acid to remove buildup on your hair. So it just doesn't exist yet. But because it's acidic and conditioner is acidic, I encourage you to do it with conditioner. I know people who do it with cleanser and don't have a problem with it. I just know that all the professionals I know who do this treatment do it with conditioner, and then decide afterwards if you want to use a cleanser or just do a double condition. And like, does your hair need love and hydration, or can it take another little bit of a to get whatever you just trust your gut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The other thing that might be helpful for you that I just started doing within the last few months when I do cleansing treatments is this kind of fire starter motion. So I really like to do this. It is more aggressive. So again, if you feel like your hair just can't take extra oomph or like an extra, I don't want to say beating, but that's kind of what you're doing, especially if your hair, your cuticle is lifted. I mean, like imagine two of these pine cones just rubbing together, right? Like that's going to be a hot mess. But also it is an abrasive. So you're able to kind of really work it in. So like what I would do just upside down is just kind of in the areas where you're not feeling, it's the same as doing like a scalp massage. So if you feel like your scalp is really where the buildup is happening, then a scalp massage is great. But if it's happening in your mid shaft or on your ends, then that fire starter motion can be super powerful, as can scrunching and raking and all the things that we ordinarily talk about. So cool. Anybody else have any questions on kind of that first point? Because there's a few more we can just keep going through and having a conversation this way. Go ahead, Alyssa.
I just have a quick question about if I'm going to clarify, because I'll be honest, since COVID hit my house, I haven't washed my hair.
Mhm.
I'm making everybody has meals whenever they want and whatever. Um, so if I'm going to clarify my hair and then do a mask, do I then do a rinse out conditioner on top? I remember you doing a video where you said you did.
I mean, my hair loves conditioner though. My hair is naturally a little bit higher in porosity. And even though I've been on a steady InterSense diet for like 2 years now, and before that I was using Diva Curl for like 6 years. And there was even like a 3-year transition where I was using partially InterSense and partially Diva Curl. So I have been sulfate silicone free for about a decade. And my hair still loves conditioner. Like it's just a little bit more higher in porosity. It just, so yeah, but go with your hand feel. Like the goal when you're in your shower is to create smooth curl clumps, whatever that means for you. If you naturally have really high porosity, kind of more coily hair, your curl clumps are not going to look like mine. Like all of us in this chat should have kind of more seaweedy looking curl clumps, but like some of us have different, like more waves, and some of us have more curls. But whatever the clumpiest, smoothest you've seen your hair be should be your goal at the end of every shower. Now, sometimes you have to cleanse and create space for water in order to achieve that goal. And sometimes you have to help your cuticle relax and get rid of that kind of coarse sandpapery feel, which is more add conditioner, smooth, kind of work that in, right? So what does your hair feel like after you clarify? Normally it does not feel that great and you have to do at least a condition normally. But if you do a condition, like if I do, even on a regular day, if I am not cleansing and I'm just doing a wet refresh and I condition and I put my hair on the top of my head to bathe, and afterwards I still kind of feel that sandpapery, some people call it hard, some people call it coarse. You know, I have two choices. I can add a little bit. First of all, if you're using InterSense, always add water before more product, because sometimes that works. And then it's like, hallelujah, you didn't have to spend another, whatever, it's like 15 cents a pump or whatever it works out to be. So that's an option. You can add a little bit more conditioner and kind of work through and see how that feels, or you can just rinse it all out and do another condition and it just gets softer. Each time you do that, you're softening that cuticle a little bit more. You're helping it lay flat a little bit more. So if that's what you think your hair needs, do it. Worst case scenario, you add so much conditioner that your hair is like heavy and kind of blah, and you just wash the next day and try again. That's the worst that could happen, you know? Leslie, did you have a question?
It was the same question.
Okay, cool.
How much conditioning afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, do it till you like it. And if you go
Yeah.
overboard, it's easy to go back. But if you aren't
Right.
sure and you think you've done enough conditioner, like, you can stop at any time.
Mhm.
Remember that if your hair is still feeling a little bit sandpapery or a little bit kind of harder, coarser, whatever you want to call it, fillers can fill better than a conditioner. So conditioners are really great at bonding with water and bringing them inside the hair shaft. But fillers fill that gap between here and here, so that if you came through and with, like, if I put painted like hot glue or Elmer's glue on the outside of this with the intention of kind of gluing these down, which is essentially what we're doing with our gel and our sealers, is kind of gluing the cuticles down flat so they're nice and smooth and sleek and sexy and everything that we want out of our hair. But like, if you put a little bit of glue in here so that this eave sticks to this eave and this eave sticks to this eave and this eave, like, that's what a filler is doing. So if you have a little bit of that feeling, like, you could always switch to a filler as well. So something more creamy, a little bit tacky, kind of scrunching that in instead of a conditioner. So play around with it, write down what you're seeing, use that digital process tracker. Like, this time my hair felt that way. And there's that card on the digital process tracker for check-in. And on the tutorial, I just used it at the beginning. Like, what did my hair feel like before I got started? But you can interject that, you know, after your first condition, before your second condition, pull a check-in card in. What did it feel like? And then, okay, my hair felt like this, so I went to condition, but the next time it felt like that, I did a filler and my results were better, right? You guys see how powerful that can be now. You can add that check-in card anytime throughout your routine. What am I feeling? What decision I make? Did it work? Did it not work?
Yeah.
Cool. I think we have 7 minutes. So I think we can go through one more. I think buildup is the issue for some of my lower porosity hair. I did use a clarifier for my first time, and I noticed a huge difference. Awesome. I think I really need to work on getting my hair hydrated more and work on the amount of product I use. I still tend to use a lot more InterSense to get my hair to cooperate than I've heard others use. That is, I hate to say it again, but that is normal in the beginning to use more product, especially conditioner. So like right now, my hair is super long. I'm using basically 2 pumps of conditioner, but when it was more shoulder length, I was using 1 pump. But it's not abnormal for somebody with shoulder length hair to sometimes use 3 pumps in the beginning, because your hair just needs that extra love. And especially like in your situation where I think there's buildup, what's probably happening is that the holes where water can get in are so small that you need extra time with conditioner to like get that water to be able to penetrate the few access points that are in there, right? Think of like, you know, if somebody yells fire in a movie theater and there's only one exit and everybody tries to go to one exit, like that's kind of what's happening. All the water is trying to get in and there's only 2 ways in, right? You could bring out the bowl and do the bowl method. We're going to be talking about this a lot as a low porosity strategy later in this course, where if your hair is lower porosity, right? So either the cuticle is tight or you're in a buildup situation, it's going to take longer for water to get inside the hair. It's not like wide open doorways of a higher porosity hair type where everybody can get in, no problem. There's no line at the door. In a lower porosity situation, there is. So doing something like a bowl where you're capturing some water and product and continuously working it into your hair saves money. It makes it easier. It like, you don't have to stand in the shower upside down for hours. Like you can do it either at the sink or like it's a more comfortable way for a lot of people to be more economical and all the things. I think, I just read that one. Okay. So yeah, I think we worked through this pretty good. The other thing you guys can do as kind of a porosity test. So I told you about kind of paying attention to your hair right before you cleanse and right after you cleanse and noticing that difference. That's going to be the difference between buildup or your hair, what it feels like when it's lower porosity, although it might still feel kind of hard and dry. if it is heavy and has buildup, but also is chronically dehydrated, you get a little bit of both sides of the chart going on, which is probably what a lot of you guys are kind of confused about when you see this chart and you're like, okay, I'm on both sides. That's probably the situation you're in, is a can't hold hydration situation with buildup. So totally fine. You know that now. We have the tools in our toolkit to kind of accomplish that. But another test that you can use is analyzing how your hair accepts hydration. And this is really what I made that check-in card for, because for me, when I check in with my hair, I almost always do it before I cleanse in that saturation step. So I fully get my hair wet and I'm able to finally detangle it. Maybe you have to do a pre-poo situation, like a condition first, just to even get through it. Totally fine. But then you are just working water through your hair and you're feeling what it feels like from root to end, all the way in all different directions, and kind of getting a feel for, where is my hair at now? What does it need? So get to that point and see, does it even seem like my hair is taking on the hydration? Or is it just kind of sitting on the surface? And the best way to do that is get your hair soaking wet. Maybe it's clumpy, maybe it's not. Take note of that. Is it stringy and not even appearing wet? Or is it looking kind of wet? And then shut off the water source. If your hair is looking nice and wet and clumpy and you shut the water source off and it immediately starts frizzing and drying out, then you either have a situation where there's buildup and nothing got into the hair at all, or all the water just fell out immediately. High porosity, can't hold on to hydration. So super high porosity hair frizzes out immediately because it just, gravity just pulls all the water right out, right? So you guys can start paying attention to, like, how does your hair interact with water? This is literally the test I do every single time I get my hair wet, because I go in with a plan and it hardly ever goes the way. Like, I'm like, okay, I think it's a wet refresh today. And then I get in there and I'm feeling my hair and I'm like, it just doesn't feel like, it's just, sometimes I'll even do a condition. I'll be like, okay, I wanted to do a wet refresh, or like, that's where my head's at. And I do a condition and I'm just like, no, it's not happening. I have to cleanse. So like, be open to kind of trusting your gut and allowing you to just follow your experience and trust what you've seen with your hair before. You know what I mean? All right, 1 minute, 45 seconds left, ladies. Any other questions? Was this helpful? How are you liking the trackers?
The tracker's great. I did want to say one thing. I've noticed that if I wash my hair later in the day, that it's smoother. My curls are always better. Do you think that's the porosity changing through the day? I know it's so weird. Everybody always I thought I was crazy. But I've had a special occasion. I wanted to wash my hair midday, not in the morning.
I wonder if it's like, it could be a sleeping thing. Like, I don't know, for me, in my head, I would think it, like, if it was my hair and I noticed that it felt more coarse when I got it wet in the morning than it did when I got it wet in the afternoons, I would think maybe it had to do, like, I sleep like the Tasmanian devil. I don't know if anybody else does. Like, I just move around a lot. So maybe my hair is just kind of fatigued from being rustled around all night and manhandled. And then it kind of settled during the day when I don't really, it's either up or it's out of the way, or like, you know, I sit here and work at my desk. So my hair isn't really being bothered too much during the day. So maybe something like that, but it's probably situational. Are you using anything overnight to protect your hair?
I just have it up in a kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you could try a silk pillowcase. I love mine.
Yeah.
We have a really good one by MYK in the product finder. Just one half of it is silk, so it's really nice. It's got all of the like clean certifications that I really love. And they make it affordable by just doing half of the pillowcase, which is kind of cool.